Hello, everyone. I'm Kamal Basra, co-founder of Sophia Financial Group and Sophia Wealth Academy with my business partner, Tracy Themes. We are a full-service financial planning and investment management firm located in Vancouver, BC. Since we opened, we've been dedicated to delivering excellence in professional holistic investment management and creating a platform for financial inclusion, education, and inspiration. We believe that money is power, the power to create personal peace of mind and the power to make the world a better place. Wise Money Talks is our online education program with the objective to help you gain control over all aspects of your relationship with money. We want you to be the boss of your money, not the other way around. And this season in particular, our offerings have been dedicated to help you build resilience and confidence so that you can move forward in your financial life with strength and conviction. And with that, I'll turn it over to Joanne.
Thanks, Kamal. Hi, I'm Joanne Loze, and I'm honored to be your host for Sophia Wealth Academy's Wise Money Talks webinar series this year. Before we get started with tonight's presentation with Kamal, please take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat function. Tell us your name and where you're joining us from. This webinar is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Sophia Wealth Academy YouTube page, our channel, within the next week or so. You will receive an email once it goes live. Just as a reminder, if you missed any of our previous webinars, they are all now available on our YouTube channel, and feel free to share these links with friends and family members. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A tool at the bottom of your screen, or you can also add questions to the chat bar if that's easier. You can upload your questions at any time, but feel free, and if there's something pressing, we will address it right away. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Kamal Basra. Just lost my page. Okay, sorry about that, folks. It is now my pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker, Kamal Basra, who I'm sure most of you know quite well. But did you know that Kamal, who is deeply passionate about creating economic equality by providing education and quality professional investment advice, actually started her career after graduating from SFU with a Bachelor of Science degree in molecular biology. As a research assistant, she researched viruses, so it is no surprise then to see why she has been so fascinated with the spread of COVID this past year. And prior to entering the financial industry, Kamal worked as a supervisor with the Canada Revenue Agency. Kamal is now a certified financial planner, a fellow of the Canadian Securities Institute, and fully life insurance licensed. In 2009, she co-founded Sophia Financial Group with Tracy Themes. Kamal also believes strongly in giving back to her community. She has served on the City of Vancouver's Women Advisory Committee, served as the public director on the Board of Nurses and Nurse Practitioners of BC, and is currently on the board of a First Nations Development Corporation. Kamal has also established scholarships for single mothers through the Vancouver YWCA and for First Nation students enrolled in sciences at SFU. And now, without further ado, I'm happy to pass you over to Kamal, who will share some practical strategies to help us plan for the 4 phases of retirement. Over to you, Kamal.
Thank you so much, Joanne. Let's get started. Today's talk is about empowered retirement. And as we move through it, the first thing I'd like to get a gauge of is how close, what our audience looks like. Are you retired? Are you planning to retire in about 10 years' time? In about 5 years' time? Are you recently retired? Or are you more than 5 years retired? So once everybody has a chance to vote, I'll read off the results. All right, and we've got 55% of our audience will be retiring in about 10 years or more. And about a quarter, 24% in 5 years or less, 21% are recently retired, and nobody in the audience has voted that they've been retired for 5 years. So a lot of people are within a few years, and this is a great time for us to be having this discussion and for me to give you some information about what an empowered retirement looks like. So thank you for everybody for voting. So when we talk about retirement and an empowered retirement, the words that I sometimes hear from my clients are words like, I want to have freedom. I want to be able to choose. I want independence. I don't want to have somebody looking after me. I don't want to ask other people for assistance. I want to be completely independent. And the final, most important piece is that all of those things come from having income and financial security. So we're going to delve into that today and see what steps you can take to make sure that you address some of those needs. Now, when you retire, it's a transition point. You know, up to that point, you've worked hard all of your life. You've responsibly put away your savings. You've done your investing wisely. You've taken our empowered investing course with Tracy, and you're finally at that stage. You're getting close to retire. The one thing that has happened in the past 25 years that I've been a financial advisor is that the traditional retirement model has changed. What we thought or what we heard our parents or our older relatives or friends talking about, a lot of those things are different for us as we move into that phase. So we're going to go over some of the retirement myths that you may have heard. And again, I hear this from a lot of people that come into my office. And the first myth is that all retirees are the same. So somehow, whenever you hit age 60 or 65 or 70, whatever that number is, that's it. They never ever want to work again. And the reality is, in today's day and age, people are continuing to stay engaged. So they may change jobs. They may work part-time. They may become a consultant. They may do some volunteer work. They may start their own business even. So this concept of never working and kind of somehow sitting on the porch with your, in a little rocker doesn't apply anymore. The second one, retirees are old people. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm getting close. I'm in my late 50s. I don't think retirees are old people. I think they're pretty darn young. So, when we were younger, we had this concept of when you retire, that's sort of the end phase. That's the last part of your life. And again, more of us are staying active. We're healthy. We're taking care of ourselves. We're involved. We're going to yoga. We're going to the gym. So we're still pretty active. The third point is when you retire, you only need 70% of your income. Now when I trained and did my courses, again, 25 years ago, this was the basic tenet of all retirement plans was when you're doing analysis, you just factor in whatever they're earning sort of in their final years, you estimate that they're going to need about 70% of that in retirement. The truth is, I haven't seen a single retiree who's been earning, let's say, $100,000 at age 64, and then at age 65 says, okay, now I want to earn only $70,000. They've got more time, they've got more energy, they actually want to spend, they want to travel, they want to do all those things that they never had a chance to do. So that's a myth. So if you have somebody, talking about, well, you're only going to need 70%, that may or may not be true. And again, that's going to be an individual lifestyle choice, but just be aware of that. The other thing I hear a lot about is the Canada Pension Plan benefit, CPP. And I get questions on this a lot, which is, well, my neighbor said, you should start collecting it at CPP at age 60 because, you get more payments. And if you die at age 80, then you'll get more money than if you wait till age 65. And so somehow they think it's a bit of a hack to try to get a higher amount. And this isn't always the case. And actually, for most of my clients, I actually recommend they wait till later on to collect CPP because the benefits actually increase. And I've got a slide later on in a presentation where we'll actually look at the differences the longer you wait. Another one is that the older you get, the more bonds you should own. And so somehow, one of the statements that, again, early on in my career I came across was, you should have the same percentage in your portfolio of bonds as your age. So if you're 60 years old, you should have 60% bonds. If you're 70 years old, you should have 70% bonds. Now that's a nice concept. It just isn't true. Right now, with interest rates being so low, bonds are yielding less than 1% or 1 to 2%, maybe, depending on what types. And so if you're 70 years old and you've got a portfolio that has 70% bonds in them, most people aren't going to be able to achieve their goals. They're not going to be able to generate enough income to be able to sustain themselves when they're no longer working. So that's a myth. And then the other one, sort of the final one I'll go into, is you only need to plan to age 80. So when we used to do income projections, to retirement projections, just to figure out if you're going to have enough money and how much income you can draw, they always told us to cut it off at age 80. 80 is long enough. Most people will die before then. And that's 25 years ago. And I still see some planners or some financial plans where they kill the person off at age 80, which isn't very nice. The reality is that if you're living in a city like Vancouver or on the West Coast, we've got clean air, we've got access to healthcare, we've got clean water, we've got services, people are active. And what we're seeing is that the average age that women are living to is into their 90s. And so when we do planning, when we do retirement planning, it has to go up to 95 or age 100 because we don't want that money to run out. So if somebody gives you a financial plan and it's only till age 80, well, that's not going to work because odds are if you don't have a debilitating disease or affliction by the time you're 65, you're probably going to have a pretty healthy, long lifetime. Other challenges to be aware of, and these are kind of like, these are facts. The other ones were myths. These are facts. As women, on average, we're going to outlive our partners and men by about 7 years, and that's just based on actuarial data. Women just live longer, okay? And so when we were told to do income projections, financial planning till age 80, for men and women, I mean, that really was not accurate for women, and it hurts women's futures. After age 85, this is another statistic, 71%, of the population is female. So that, again, supports the first point that women are living longer. The average age of widowhood is 56. So at some point in women's lives, the stats are close to 1/3 of a woman's lifetime. They'll be living alone and they will have to learn to manage their own money and take control of it. So this is a staggering number. And then the two obstacles that we have on top of living longer and having healthier lives and maybe being single for some part of it is that we still only earn on average 70% of what men earn. So we're earning less throughout our lives. What that means is that we accumulate less because we have less in savings, and we also have lower pension contributions. And so what that means is our pensions, Canada pension, will probably be lower because our contributions are lower. So there's some complexity. There's a lot of complexity. Let me rephrase that, to retirement. And all of these things have to be taken into consideration. So then that was the old way. That's the old myth of what retirement looks like and how it's managed. The new paradigm, this is what we're seeing. This is what we're seeing with people that are retiring now. There isn't just one phase where, you kick up your feet and sit on the porch for the next 40 years of your life. There's actually, what we're seeing is roughly 4 phases that people go through. And depending on the individual, each of the phases will last different time periods. The first phase is called productive engagement. And this is where your work may shift. You just get tired of working for the same employer. And, we hear words like, if I have to work another day, I'm going to die. Like, it's just absolute frustration with the roles that they had. And so the work may look different. They might go into consulting, they might change to part-time, or they may completely change what type of work they're doing. And in this phase, what we see or often see is that the income needs stay the same. You're still spending about the same amount of money. And so back to that 70%, that in retirement, you only need 70% of your income. I'm not seeing it. We're not seeing it in real life. The second phase is what Tracy and I call the Kilimanjaro phase. And this is where now you've stepped a little bit more away from work and you want to start enjoying life because you've got the time. You might travel, some people volunteer, some people take on political activism, taking courses that they never had a chance to take when they were working. And this phase, what we typically see is that your income needs to increase. Okay, so you're not using less of what you had before you retired. You might actually need a bit more because all of these things are going to cost more money. The third phase is where then you start slowing down, and we call this the home is where the heart is. There's more focus on relationships and family. You've sort of, you've done the traveling, you've done all the other things that were really important to you, and now you want to just take it back to your household and to your family. This is the stage where we see income needs may decrease, but this isn't till maybe 10, 15, 20 years into that retirement phase. So it's not immediate, that's for sure. And then finally, the fourth phase that we see people going through is the assisted living. And so there, health challenges pop up because of age. You're looking to live in community maybe rather than independent, so some sort of supported living, or you require and you bring in services into your home to help you continue to live independently. And so in this phase, we typically see that the income needs rise to pay for all of those extra things. So it's not quite as easy as one stable amount of income throughout, the retirement years, let's say from 65 to 95. What we want is flexibility, because your life is actually changing during that huge time period. And as it changes, you want your plan to be reflective of that and flexible enough. So how do we create a secure income that's stable and sustainable? And we always go back to the 5-step financial planning model. And the reason for it is simple, and yet it is powerful. And it can be used at any stage of life, whether you're just in the accumulation phase, you're more than 10 years away from retirement, or it could be within a couple of years of retirement where you're really focused and that becomes a huge priority and a goal. And the 5-step model is, number one, we have to gauge where you are now. So that involves 2 things. Number one, analyzing your cash flow, which just means how much are you earning and how much are you spending. And the second piece is net worth, which is what are your assets, less any debt that you have. And so those 2 measurables will tell you where you are now. So from a financial point of view, that's step one. Step 2, do I have enough in cash reserves? And so that's for emergency, that's your slush fund, that's your emergency fund. It'll vary from person to person, but it's cash. It's not invested in stocks, it's not invested in a mutual fund. It is cash that you can get your hands on within 24 to 48 hours. And each person, it might vary from $5,000 in your savings account to, in some cases, it can be as high as 25 or 50,000, depending on a person's circumstances. So you need some cash reserves. Step 3, what are my goals? So this seminar is focused on retirement. So what is the retirement goal? When do you plan to stop working, and how much will you need? So time frame and a dollar figure is important to attach to each goal. And again, this is going to be very individual. I have clients who are working till age 70 and then just require a small amount of income. And then I also have people who have retired in their 50s and are drawing an income from that point forward. So your goals are going to be very, very specific for you. Step 4, how do I get there? So these are the strategies, and we'll delve into that more as we go through this presentation. Typically, for retirement, it's the investment strategy. So what do you do with your money? How should it be invested? How do you access it? Where do you access it first? Which accounts do you draw from first? Which pensions do you draw from first? So those are all the strategies, which is the, I guess, the action phase, which is the implementation phase of how do we create that amount of income that you need at that specific age that you've identified as your retirement age. And then step 5 is just as important as the strategies, which is reviewing and monitoring. And what that involves is doing a check every year to go through these 5 steps again, go through how much you're spending, what's your net worth, how much do you have in cash, how's your income, have your goals changed, have your income needs changed any, are your strategies still working? And that's the review and monitor process. So that has to be done continually. This is not in our industry, they say sort of one and done, this is not a one and done scenario. Retirement, it's got to be monitored so that you stay on track. So where am I now? Step 1. So we'll just go through sort of the practicality of it. So typically, this is what a net worth statement would look like. It's as simple as just listing what you've got. So this person has an RSP, has a spousal RSP, has a non-registered account, 2 of them, a tax-free savings account, and then they've got some cash savings of $15,000. So you total all of the assets, and if you have any debt, then you subtract the debt from this total number, which in this case is $445,000. So that's what net worth is just assessing where am I. The cash flow analysis is as simple as how much money is coming in, so how much am I earning and how much am I spending. And a really quick way of figuring out your spending is just to look at your online banking and download 3 months worth of transactions, and then just sum those up to divide them up into the 3 months. What were the debits, what were the credits, divide it by 3, and that'll give you an average tool to determine how much money came in and how much you spent. So number 2, do I have enough in cash reserves? Typically, we say when you're retired or retiring, we want to keep about at least 1.5 years worth of income outside of the investment accounts. And so when you're still working, this cash reserve amount is going to be much less. It might be $10,000. When you're retired, this cash reserve amount is going to go up. It will probably go up just to mitigate against market volatility. If you have investment accounts, if you don't have investment accounts and all your money is coming from pensions or guaranteed streams, then you might not need as much in cash reserves. So again, that just needs to be evaluated and just tick box, this is how much I have. Step 3 is your goal. So this is specifically how much income do I need and when does it start? That'll vary from person to person. Could be age 55, could be age 75. Your need for income, how much income do I need? It varies on your lifestyle. So it could be some people need, can live on 30,000. Some people can live on a 250,000 a year. I've seen that whole spectrum. So it's based on your personal lifestyle. And then step 4, creating the retirement income strategy. So that's the how, that's the action part. So let's go into that a bit more. So there we go. I'm just gonna, yeah, right one. All right. So there's 4 primary sources of retirement income. And there might be, specific cases where there might be other sources, but these are the ones that we see the most often. Number 1, government pension. So whether that be Canada Pension and Old Age Security, or whether it's some sort of a survivor benefit or a disability pension, those are all under that category. The second source of retirement income can be from your company pension or a workplace pension. And again, that's typically a preset amount that you get per month for the rest of your life. The third primary main source of retirement income is savings and investments. So these are your investment accounts. It's your bank accounts, it's your term deposits, it's your mutual funds, it's your tax-free savings account, it's your RRSP. So that's the third bucket. And the fourth the most common ones we see is maybe some real estate income and possibly an annuity that you may own, which again produces a stream of income. But these are primarily the areas where your income is going to come from once you're retired. So let's delve deeper. Government pensions. These provide a preset, guaranteed monthly income that continues for your lifetime. I mean, these are great. And they address the problem of longevity, which isn't really a problem, it's a blessing. But these pensions, because they continue for your lifetime, you'll never run out. So that's, with a longer lifespan, our main concern is, will you have enough for those final years? There's 2 types of government pensions. Canada Pension Plan, which is based on your work history, and it's based on your contributions into the plan over your lifetime. It can be collected as early as age 60. The regular retirement age is 65, but if you collect it at age 60, there's a 36% reduction in your benefit. Or you can wait and collect it as late as age 70 with a 42% increase in benefit. So if we go back to that myth at the beginning, which is, start collecting your CPP at age 60 so you can get more money out of it, it's not quite as easy as that, because there is quite a bit of, if you wait, the increase is substantial. And we'll go through an example on that. Old Age Security is the other government pension, or OAS. These benefits begin at age 65. Or you can wait to age 70, and they've also implemented a bonus system. So if you wait longer, your monthly payment amount will actually increase by 36%. There's Old Age Security always brings up questions about the clawback, the Old Age Security clawback. And what it is the Old Age Security benefit, because it's not a plan that you've contributed over your lifetime, it's more of a guaranteed minimum income in retirement for people. And so it's designed to be there for people who have very little other income. So your income is quite low. What happens when you reach a taxable income of $71,000 is some of this Old Age Security benefit will be taken back. You'll have to pay it back to CRA. And it's just a percentage of your total amount at $71,000 of income. So when you have $71,000 of total income for the year. And it's not until you reach an annual income of $120,000, that the whole benefit is clawed back. And I see a lot of confusion around this, and people really worry a lot, and there really isn't need for worry on the old age security. I see Lisa asking what's the benefit, so let's move on to the next slide, and I've got it here. Good question, Lisa. There we go. All right, so old age security is the yellow over here. At age 65, that's the earliest you can take it. It's $614 a month. It's about $7,200 a year. Okay. If you wait till age 70, it goes up by 36%, higher than the 614. So your monthly benefit actually becomes $826 per year, and that lasts for the rest of your lifetime. So that's sort of what the percentage works out to. For Canada Pension, same thing. At age 65, the maximum benefit that you can receive, and your number will be based on your contributions, but the maximum will be $1,175 a month. I mean, it's not a lot. You're not gonna, this isn't gonna be your sole source of income. You still have to accumulate in investments and RSPs and TFSAs and all of that. You still have to do saving for yourself, but it provides a good baseline. So at age 65, you're eligible for a maximum benefit of $1,175. If you take it early at age 60, based on that old myth, the benefit's reduced by 36%. So then it becomes $752 a month for the rest of your life. So by starting early by 5 years, you're paying for that for the rest of your life. And so when you're in your 90s, that benefit still stays at $752. It doesn't go up to $1,175, or it doesn't bounce back up again. These are indexed, so there is a slight increase every year, but it's pretty minor. It's about 1% or so. It's not going to influence. It's not going to make as big of a difference. So the CPP as well, if you wait till age 70, now they give you a 42% bonus on the amount. So at age 70, if you didn't collect it at 65 and you applied at age 70, it's $1,600 a month. Well, for some people that's kind of substantial, and it's it makes a difference. Yeah, so we'll move on to company pensions. So the second source of income, company pensions. You could have a defined benefit plans. This just means you get a statement that says, it tells you that if you retire at 60, you're going to get X number of dollars per month for your lifetime. And at another age, it'll tell you exactly what your monthly payment is. That's called a defined benefit plan. Those are great. There's very few of them around. Teachers, government employees, government workers, healthcare workers, they still have those, and they provide a really good foundation for income for retirement. The other type of company pension that you might have is called a defined contribution plan, and that looks like a group RSP. So where you make the decisions on what you want to have the investments go into, and the income will depend on how much growth you get in the plan and how much you choose to withdraw later on. So two types of company pensions. And the third one is investments. This is where the majority of people, this is where their income, at least half of their income will come from, is from their investments. And the key here is that you have to manage those investments well, and they have to have an appropriate amount of growth in order to provide a sustainable level and stability of that income. Okay. So these investments will be in either cash savings, they can be in a tax-free savings account, can be non-registered investment accounts, it could be RRSPs. All of those things will contribute to the investments and then being able to draw on income. These provide, investments actually provide the most flexibility, because you can choose when you take the income from these accounts. Whereas the government pensions, it's a stated monthly amount. You can never say, well, can I have my next 6 months worth of income early because I'm planning a trip. It comes in monthly checks. That's it. You can't change it. The investments, you get to control, whether you decide to withdraw 30,000 this year and 10,000 next year, and then nothing the following year. You get to have some control over it. So again, this is where, some of that power, you get to control what your retirement looks like. Now, if the growth is low and withdrawals are high, the thing I worry about for clients is that the account will be depleted. And so in order to manage the income, you really need help with this part. And this is one of the things that financial planners do. They will be able to look at the accounts and then be able to analyze what the growth rate is, how much income you're taking, and what it'll look like, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years down the road. And if that level of withdrawal will be sustainable. And the fourth, other income. Real estate income is a common one. So if you have a rental unit that you've invested in, you may be getting some income. And so make sure that that gets tracked and is also a revenue stream. The other one is annuities. If you own an annuity or you purchase an annuity is just a guaranteed income stream that lasts a certain amount of time. It could be your lifetime, or it could be term certain, which means it's for 10 years or 15 years. And we'll talk a little bit about that in an upcoming slide as well. Yeah, an annuity is a insurance product, so it's sold through an insurance company. So let's go do another poll. So when you retire, where will your retirement income come from, or the majority of your retirement income? Is it going to come from government and company pensions? Is it going to primarily come from your investment and savings, or is it going to be a combination of both? All right, there's the answer. So yeah, no surprise there. We had 61% of you say that it'll be a combination of both. 32% said it will be primarily from your own investments and savings, and only 8% said that it'll come from government and company pensions. So that pretty well reflects what I see as well. Moving on. So what does a retirement income projection look like? I've put this one in here just to show you what it does, or, as financial planners, what we do. So in this case, I'm hoping that you can all see my mouse. Up here, it says your current age. This person was 54. They're not currently retired. They want to start their retirement at age 64. And then we want that income to last to age 100. So that means 36 years of retirement. They were able to accumulate about $360,000 in their accounts, so RSPs and TFSAs. We factored in a growth rate of return on these accounts of about 5.5% per year, and that's a long-term average. And that would be a portfolio, a moderate portfolio that probably has about 60% stocks and about 40% bonds. So that's sort of the growth rate that we'd expect to achieve. And once we enter that data, what we get is that, or the result that's obtained, is that they can get a retirement income of $36,000 a year from age 64 to age 100. And we also have to factor in a really important number, which is income indexed at 2%. So this is the inflation factor. Because we're projecting out 36 years, a 2% inflation rate means that your income is going to have less purchasing power by 2% every single year. So when we're doing projections, the data that goes in becomes really important, and the growth rates, the inflation rate, and in order to reflect the correct level estimates of what you might expect to be able to sustain. So this is a sample one of an income projection that we do that will give you a good idea of whether the amount of income you want, whether it's achievable, whether it's possible. The other thing when we're looking at coordinating all these, these different income streams, government pensions, investments, company pensions, and other income, we also have to manage taxes. So taxes become important, and taxation of different types of income there's differences. So pensions, interest, rental income, and RSP withdrawals. So all of that type of income, it's fully taxable, and it's reported on your tax return, and it's taxable at your regular rates. Non-registered investments, so this is outside of your RSP, any growth investments, they're taxed on the growth only. So not on the total withdrawal that you make, but just on the growth that you get every year, okay? And so these are taxed on basically dividends and capital gains tax rates. These tend to be lower. The taxation rate is roughly half on dividends of capital gains as it is on income, as this type of income. So one has to be aware of that. So when we're looking at where do we take the income from first, and how much do we take from the various different sources, this is a really key piece. We want to balance out. We don't want to pay too much tax at certain times in your life. We want to try to balance it out. We want to try to keep the taxation as low as possible. The final one, tax-free savings account, that's the best place to invest. And you'll hear me and Tracy always raving about the fact that tax-free savings accounts are the only place where you can get growth without ever being taxed. So any withdrawal from a tax-free savings account, never taxable. You take that money, you spend it, CRA doesn't get a cent of it. So taxation becomes important as well. Income generation from portfolios. The old model was to hold investments that produce interest, and then you live off the interest without touching the capital. And I still get people asking me that, I just want to, I want to keep the principal. I just want to live off the growth. Well, in today's day and age, interest rates being close to 0%, it's really hard to do that unless you have tens of millions of dollars. Then it might be possible just to live off the interest. The new model is to build an efficient long-term growth portfolio that is geared to each person's circumstances, and then to have the growth come off of that, and then to take an income each year from that growth. The way we do it at Sophia, we use the very technical bucket approach. So you have your long-term growth portfolio, and then we have a short-term bucket, which is where we keep 2 years of income. And so as the accounts grow, the long-term accounts grow, we pull off the growth, we put it into the income bucket. And so we really don't worry about what the market's doing. We're not selling when the market's low. We use the income bucket to produce income to provide income for the next 2 years. And then we'll do the same thing, skim off the growth, leave it into the income bucket. And that's how we manage income, so that it's sustainable and that it's stable. We don't have to be at the mercy of the markets. The other thing, diversification is key by asset class, which means how much you have in bonds, how much you have in stock, how much you have in cash. By geography, where are you invested? Are you invested in US? Are you invested in Europe? What sectors? Are you all invested in technology? No. With diversification, we want to cover off different sectors because they will do well in different market circumstances and at different times in the economic cycle. The final factor for diversification is style. So style of management, so value stocks versus growth stocks versus dividend stocks versus momentum stocks. A lot of complexity there, and I'm not going to go into it today because this is an income seminar, and that's another hour or two of explanation. So income generation. So by doing a retirement income projection, we can check to see if you have enough income and how long it's going to last. RSPs, just a fact, they convert at age 71 to something called a RIF, which is a Registered Retirement Income Fund. People get worried about this. It's not a taxable event. There's nothing, it doesn't all become taxable. It just changes its name from RSP to a RIF. You open up a new account, that's called a RIF, and everything just gets kind of pulled up, put into the RIF. What changes is that the following year, at age 72, you have to take out a minimum percentage mandated by CRA. And at age 72, it's about 5% of the market value of the portfolio. So you have to start withdrawing, taking income. But the amount that they make you withdraw is a pretty small amount. It's about 5%. So again, not a huge worry. A lot of concern about this one. I get a lot of questions about that one. And annuities. Annuities are contracts with an insurance company. So this is another type of income stream. You provide a lump sum payment to the company, and in exchange, they give you a guaranteed monthly income stream for either your lifetime or a predetermined term. So there's different types of annuities. It's great because it allows you to create a pension if you don't have one yourself. So this guarantee. The downside is that once the contract is signed and you give up, let's say $100,000 of capital in exchange for, let's say, a payment stream that's $450 a month for your lifetime. First of all, if you die in 4 years' time, that's it. Your capital's gone. You don't get that capital back, so you have no recourse on that if it's a life annuity. In term certain annuity, that's one where it says they have a certain term, so they'll pay out for 10 years. That income, it avoids that problem. But then what you're doing is you're paying a lump sum of money for a stream of income for a certain amount of time, and then it disappears. So then you're basically back at square one, where are you going to get that additional income from? In some cases, annuities work. I've seen several instances where annuities are a perfect answer. In most circumstances, it's not the ideal way to manage your income. So will your future financial needs be met? It comes down to coordinating the different income streams, the pensions, the CPP, the old age security, your investments. And doing the retirement projection, if your total income is not sufficient from those sources, you still have choice. You can delay your retirement. You can work part-time to supplement your income. You can reduce your monthly expenses so that you need less income. You can downsize your home and invest some of that capital to create income. Or you can rent out a portion of your home as well. So you still have choices. So, sometimes people hold off on doing the analysis because they're worried about what the answer is going to be. I would rather you get the analysis done, get the answer, so then you have some choices and you can address it. You've got time to address it. And then final, financial planning step 5, which is review and monitoring. Again, I can't emphasize it enough. This is so vital. It just keeps checking to make sure, is that income going to be there? Is it sustainable? Is it stable? Are those withdrawals going to be able to continue? And what it involves, go through the whole 5-step process again, review net worth, your income needs, your investment accounts, repeat the income projections to ensure you stay on track. And always remember, life always changes no matter what plans we make. Work with your trusted financial advisor to help you navigate those changes and change your income as required. So the retirement checklist, I'll leave you with this, and then we'll get to some questions. Number 1, where are you now? So assess what your current income is, assess your net worth, your pensions. What's your goal? When will you need to replace your work income? What age? And how much are you going to need to live on at that point? Number 3, do you have enough set aside as cash reserves? Step 4, how are you going to create that income from those different pensions and accounts? So how are you going to create and coordinate those income streams? And for sustainability, you have to get that retirement income projection done. Do it to age 100 so that there's very small chance that you're going to outlive your money. Nobody wants to be, have no income at age 95 or 96 and just relying on government benefits at that point. So these retirement incomes become vital, vital, vital. Maximize your pension benefits. So this is doing the analysis, right? So checking your different income streams, figuring out what's the best strategy. When does it make the most sense for me to take my CPP? When does it make the most sense to take my old age security? When does it make the most sense to retire from my work pension? And when does it, when do I start drawing income from the accounts? So all of those things have to be looked at together to maximize your benefits. And then finally, tax efficiency. You need to be also monitoring, how much you're paying in taxes. Is there a way we can become more efficient by changing the income streams? Fifth, step 5 in the financial planning process, same thing, review and monitor. Repeat the process to ensure that you stay on track. And I'll hand it over to Joanne, and let's see if we have any questions, and I'm here to answer your questions.
Thanks, Kamal. Oh, that's a lot to take in.
I'm going to take a drink of water there.
I don't know if I'm feeling encouraged or panicked.
Oh no! Oh no!
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Actually, no. It's just, yeah. Sorry, the reality of it all, I think, hits home. But that's a good thing. It's a very good thing. Before we jump into questions, I would like to let everyone know that this is our last Wise Money Talks webinars for this season. But this session, as well as the others, as mentioned before, will all be available to watch on our YouTube channel. And also as a reminder, for those of you that want to take a deeper dive into the 5 steps, sort of as you've heard Tracy talk about them, but also how you've heard Kamal talk about them in terms of retirement, you can actually go into those in a much deeper way on our Financial Empowerment Foundation's e-course. And until the end of May, we are offering a 50% discount for the online course. And this interactive and informative course teaches the basics of personal financial planning through the lens of your own values and economic needs and priorities. To access the discount when signing up to the course, use our Wise Money Talks coupon code WMT2021. Please note that when registering, you will be charged in US dollars. And also, we're going to jump into questions now. And I see that many of you, or some of you, have asked questions on the side in the chat. I think some of those have been answered. If some of your questions have not been answered, if you can type them into the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen, I'll make sure to get those to Kamal. And all right, so let's leap in. I see there's a question from Katrina King, and she asks, if average portfolio growth is expected to be at 5.5%, by withdrawing about 4% of the total investment assets during retirement, would it make sense to believe that the original investment amount will stay intact?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Katrina. The one, sort of from an arithmetic standpoint, it would make sense that your capital is going to stay intact. However, this is where that insidious inflation factor of 2% per year. So it depends on if your withdrawals are, if you keep them constant, or if we adjust them up a little bit to counteract the inflation. So that 2% inflation factor that'll determine whether your capital stays intact or not. And as well with investment accounts, the growth varies, as you all know. Growth varies from year to year. It's not a GIC where we get this nice even growth line. It's more like this. and so when we're taking out a standard amount, let's say 4%, the growth, each year it's not going to be 5.5% every year, 5.5 next, 5.5. So that variability in returns will also impact that. So you probably should be okay, but I can't say without actually running that projection. Thanks for your question.
Thanks, Kamal, and thanks, Katrina. I'm also noticing in the chat that there's some statements that have been made, and I'm not sure if they're just a statement or if they're a question. So if you are putting the questions in the chat, if you can add a question mark, just so that I know that it's meant to be a question and not a comment.
I'll
Also,
address that one by May there in the chat. Annuities. Yeah, I talked about the two types of annuities, May. You're absolutely correct. One is a lifetime annuity and the other is a term certain. So it'll have a certain term. And yes, their annuities are really complex as well. You can have lots of features on it. You can have inflation protection. You can have joint survivor annuities. And you can also have one with a guaranteed period as well. So yeah, I've just simplified sort of for the sake of our discussion, but you are absolutely correct. There's a lot of different benefits and features that you can add on.
thanks for that clarification, Kamal. I wasn't sure. Also, from Christina, with bonds having such a poor return, is it a better idea to put my cash in GICs for right now?
Oh boy, GICs are just are at, I was looking at a GIC for a client recently, and a 2-year GIC pays 0.4% in interest. My worry with GICs is that with GICs, you're locking yourself in to guarantee that you're not going to make inflation. Depending on the type of bonds, if we put you in a diversified bond portfolio where we've got some corporates in there, we might have some global ones in there, we might have some um, high yield, different types of bonds that have different returns, we should be able to get better than a GIC. Right now, GICs really aren't, unless you need the money. GICs are perfect for the short term. So if you're saving for a down payment in a house that you're going to buy in 1 year's time, that money should be in a GIC, and it probably should be a cashable GIC because you need that capital safe and you know that you're going to do that purchase. But if it's for something that's 5 years or longer out, I probably, again, depending on your situation, I might go the bond route instead of a GIC. Also depends on what amount, how much are you investing? Is it $20,000 or is it $500,000? For $20,000, the GIC might make sense because we can't diversify with a bunch of different bonds. For $500,000, definitely a bond portfolio would be the way to go.
Thanks for that clarification, Kamal. We also have somebody saying, thank you so much. Gary saying it's fabulous.
Oh.
And says, I'm entirely reliant upon investments. I'm currently at 59 going through a separation and wondering if real estate is still a good option at this age.
Oh boy, it depends. It really depends on your circumstances. It depends on what other assets you have, what your net worth is, what your income is, and what your goals are. So I wish I could answer sort of black and white whether investments versus real estate. What, just sort of generally speaking, we believe in the don't put all your eggs in one basket philosophy, which is if you own your own home, then typically that's enough exposure to real estate. And there should be a balance between, investments and real estate. But it just depends on what your goals are. Like if you're, depends on if you need income versus if you need that security of a home. There's a whole bunch of other complicating factors. Sorry, I can't be more specific. But call us if you're in that bind, Tracy or I, definitely give us a call and we can help you out once we learn of your circumstances a bit more.
Thanks, Kamal. Yeah, it really does come down to the goals and sort of your own sort of like situation for everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nicole is wondering if there is a maximum one can withdraw from an RIFF, a RIF, or is there only a required minimum withdrawal per year?
Yeah, so there is no maximum, so you can withdraw as much as you want. It's just the minimum that CRA mandates that you have to take out that roughly about 5% a year, and that goes up with age. So no, there's no maximum.
Good to know. All right, and then from Dorta, for CPP and OAS, do the monthly rates only adjust at ages 60, 65, and 70 years old, or is there actually a different rate for any given age?
Wonderful question, Dorothy. That's Absolutely. It is almost, the rates are based on month. So the month that you apply for those benefits. So I just made it, again, I just simplified it to show you the difference at 60, 65, and 70. But it'll vary at 61, 62, 67, and even in the month in which you apply. So yeah. So no, it doesn't make sense to wait for the next step. It's constantly that's sort of a smooth line in terms of what your bonus would be or what your reduction would be.
Okay. And yeah, I'm glad that Dorta asked that question again because I saw that in the comments earlier. So I
Mhm.
appreciate the clarification. All right, from Kate. What amount do you typically use to determine yearly income needs during assisted living years?
Oh, geez, Kate. Again, it's going to vary, right? Like, I don't know where you live. I don't know, how much you spend. It really varies. But so when I say your income needs are going to go up during assisted living, so some of our clients, they move into assisted living facilities and they charge anywhere from, 8,000 to $10,000 a month for the private ones. Um, Others I know are moving into assisted living facilities that are more government funded, which is more income dependent. They're not the best, but if you don't have a choice, that's fine. So it varies so much, and it depends on your health as well. So each person's individual health. I've got clients who are in their 70s who do motorcycle trips across Canada by themselves, and they're just in phenomenal health. And I've got elderly people in their 90s who are out, you know, active and healthy and independent. So it's really hard to judge. And one of the ways that we factor in sort of that healthcare need is we don't liquidate your home. So when we do the retirement projection, again, back when I started 25 years ago, they used to say, have the income come from the accounts to age 80 and then sell the home, and then all of that house proceeds go in and then you create income for another 20 years. Um, we don't believe in that. We want to hold on to your house if you're fortunate to own real estate in Vancouver. We want to hold on to that as long as possible, because then, when you need those extra services, the healthcare needs and the assisted living needs, that's when we might liquidate the home, and that'll pay for those extra healthcare costs in the final decade of your life. And that's typically more than enough. So that's how we address the healthcare needs.
Great, thanks. And also had a thank you from Dorta and Kate, who said that they both felt that you were able to clarify their
Oh,
questions. So
perfect.
thanks for that. Have a question from Christina. You were saying high bond content may not be wise. What do you recommend for the conservative investor instead of bonds?
So Christina, again, I'd have to have a more fulsome conversation. What is your situation? So, what is your net worth? What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Um, is is the income do you have enough income from other sources? Some people, they have enough income from pensions and from their accounts that they're able to put some money just in savings or in GICs or in bonds. It just depends. It's really hard to answer. The point, I guess, the biggest takeaway I'd like to make regarding interest rates is just, we as women tend to be more conservative when it comes to our investing. And I'm thinking about my mom and growing up with my mom, who was a single mother and didn't have a lot of money. So her go-to was savings. So it was money in the bank, and she always bought term deposits. And lucky for her, back in those days, interest rates were about 10%, 10, 12%. And so she did well. She was able to kind of save up enough for her retirement. My worry is that if we're too conservative, inflation at 2 to 2.5% per year starts eating away at our purchasing power. And that's my biggest worry for retirees, and especially for women retirees, is is going too conservative. And the only way we can determine that, it's not a subjective thing. The way we determine that is by running that retirement income projection that I showed you, which is just, plug in the data. I love analysis. We just plug in the interest rates of if a GIC is paying 0.2% per year and a bond portfolio is paying 2.5%. Well, let's just plug in the numbers and let's just see how much income is possible. And then we compare that and we give you the results, and then we compare that to what you want. Is that sufficient to meet your needs? And it may be, or it might not be. So that's sort of the complexity of the discussion. It's not a blanket formula that, this type of investment is good, that type is bad, or this is what everybody should do. Not at all. It's very specific and very personalized. So when somebody gives you advice, your coworker, your sister, your neighbor, just remember that their circumstances are very different from your own, and what might make sense for them may or may not be applicable to you. So yeah, just something to keep in mind.
Great, thanks, Kamal. Further to an earlier question, Patricia is wondering who and in what circumstances would benefit from buying real estate at this time?
It depends. My favorite. It could be nobody. Could be an answer. If you don't need it, it depends on where you are and what your goals are. It just depends. Real estate is an investment class. It's a sector. It's a category. So if you have real estate that makes up maybe 10 to 15% of your overall holdings, that I see no issue with that. But the issue is when we're living in the Lower Mainland, where real estate is really, really expensive. And so what I see is sometimes people have too much in real estate. And so it's capital intensive and it's not liquid. So then when you need access to income or capital or to get your money back, it's a lot harder to do a withdrawal from a house or an apartment building than it is from your accounts. So you want that control over the liquidity of it as well.
Great, thank you. And I think Lisa might have left by now, but she was wondering if you and Tracy work directly with clients.
Yeah, we do. And so, I went through a lot of examples and a lot of information, and just from the questions that I'm getting, I know that most of the participants are understanding the complexity that's involved with this part of your life and with this transition from working to then being completely reliant on these income streams. And so, yes, we do. And for anybody that our typical clients that we work with have about $500,000 or above in investable assets. And so they're the ones that we take on as clients. But we also do 1 day a week of pro bono work, where if you don't meet that threshold and you're close to retirement and you want somebody to run that income projection for you, that retirement projection, just contact us and we'll do it. And so either Tracy or myself reach out to us and we'll go over exactly, where you're at. We'll try to get an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish, what some of your obstacles are, and then we'll be able to give you some choices. So absolutely. Reach out to us if you have any further questions. We're here for you. We're here as a resource.
Great, thanks. I guess that sort of answers. There was another question about if my financial advisor doesn't do this kind of planning, what can I do?
Yeah.
You just kind of answered that one.
Yeah, and the difference is, Joanne, is there's a lot of investment advisors out there, and so this part of it is the financial planning piece, where we're doing taxes, income, managing income streams, annuities, the insurance piece as well. And so this is the financial planning. Not all investment advisors do financial planning. So both Tracy and I are certified financial planners. So this is kind of what we love to do. And the added ability that we have is that we're also able to manage the investments, and we're really good at that. So we manage the investments similar to pensions, and to be able to provide sustainability and, again, stability as much as we can with the appropriate levels of growth that people need to meet their income needs.
Yeah, no, it's great. There's so much information that you've been able to give everyone. tonight, and I'm sure everybody was busy taking a lot of notes. But just know that we will be sending out the webinar so you can access all of this information again once it's up on our YouTube channel. But we've had lots of people saying thank you and are so grateful for the amount of information that you were able to share with us tonight, Kamal. And also we just had Anne who said, I'm sad to see this is the last session. When will these sessions begin again?
So we're just working on our next season, and those should be posted in the coming months, in the next month or so, our fall lineup and who our speakers are going to be. So keep checking back on our Sophia Wealth Academy website. They'll all be there. And if you go on there and you can subscribe to our newsletter, that way it'll come into your inbox as soon as the new sessions are structured and put together. You'll be the first to know. I just wanted to say to all the people that joined in today who took the time away from their day to come and listen to me and to get their knowledge, to improve their knowledge. And I hope I was able to at least give you a few pointers and a few tips and a few things to watch out for. And you're not going to be able to remember all of this, but just know that this is the type of information that you need to make really wise decisions and good decisions that will give you the power and the choices that you need to live your life the way you want.
Thanks, Kamal. And again, there's just tons. I hope you have a chance. You can look at the chat and just see how grateful everyone is and how much information that you can tell that you really hit somewhere for a lot of us on the session tonight. So thank you. And just so much for, so much information. I know I'll be going through it again myself. So thank you. And also just a reminder for everyone that once the session has ended, you will be asked to complete a quick survey. Basically, it's less than a minute. Your feedback really helps us when we're designing our upcoming webinars and the workshops as we move forward. So we really appreciate if you could take a bit of time and just answer the questions, and then that'll help us for planning for the next session that'll be coming up in the fall. We'd also invite you to check out the Sophia Wealth Academy website. And as we now have a regular blog feature, and we'll also be doing a blog on Kamal's talk tonight. And you can find out more about other upcoming events, such as the Wise Money Talk series that'll be coming later, and as well as the Wise Money Moves podcasts that are also available through the website. And there's also Kamal had mentioned, in terms of doing the cash flow statements and net worth. And just as a reminder that on the Sophia Wealth Academy webpage, in the resources section, you can download free spreadsheets to help you sort of figure out your cash flow and your net worth. And they're really helpful tools. And so I'd really encourage you to have a look and use those resources if you need some help, looking at some of the cash flow and net worth statements. And also help us to spread the word by following Sophia Wealth Academy on all of our various social media platforms. And over the next few months, we'll also be conducting an evaluation of our webinar series, and we look forward to collecting your feedback and ideas for our next session. So if you have some thoughts of what you'd like to see coming up, then take the time to work through the evaluation questionnaire when it comes out, because we really appreciate your feedback. And then on that note, just want to thank Kamal again for a great session, and thank all of you for joining us tonight. And we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.